What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You've heard it everywhere, in speeches, in movies, in the gym. People say it when they're trying to push through something difficult. It sounds powerful. It sounds undeniable. But is it really true? Does every painful experience actually make you stronger? Or is this just something we say because the truth is harder to accept? This quote comes from Friedrich Nietzsche, a philosopher who wasn't interested in making people comfortable. In fact, he did the opposite. He challenged everything people believed about life, morality, and even happiness. And this quote is no different, because Nietzsche wasn't trying to inspire you. He was trying to confront you with reality, a reality most people avoid. According to Nietzsche, life is not designed to protect you. It's not designed to be fair, and it's definitely not designed to make you stronger. Struggle does not guarantee growth. Let that sink in, because this goes against everything modern motivation teaches. We're told that pain is good, that suffering is part of success, that every failure is a lesson. But Nietzsche would say, that's only half the truth, because not everyone learns from pain. Some people are destroyed by it. Some people never recover. Some people lose themselves completely. And that's not weakness. That's reality. So why do we keep repeating this quote? Because it's comforting. Because it gives us a sense of control. It makes us believe that no matter what happens, we'll come out stronger. But Nietzsche didn't believe in comforting illusions. He believed in truth, even when that truth is uncomfortable. So what did he actually mean? He meant that strength is not automatic. It's not something that just happens to you. It's something you build. And more importantly, it's something you choose. Because when something painful happens in your life, you don't just experience the event itself, you also interpret it. You give it meaning, and that meaning shapes your future. Two people can go through the exact same situation. One of them grows, the other one breaks. So what creates the difference? It's not the event, it's the mindset. It's the story they tell themselves about what happened. One person might say, "This ruined me," and another might say, "This changed me." Same experience, different outcome. This is why Nietzsche didn't focus on avoiding pain. He focused on how you respond to it, because avoiding pain weakens you. But blindly believing that pain will make you stronger is just as dangerous. The truth lies somewhere in between. And that's where Nietzsche's philosophy becomes powerful. He believed that growth comes from confronting reality, not escaping it, not sugarcoating it, but facing it fully. And that's something most people don't do. Because facing reality means accepting things you don't want to accept. It means realizing that life can be unfair, that bad things can happen for no reason, that sometimes there is no lesson. And that's terrifying. So instead, people create comforting beliefs. They tell themselves that everything happens for a reason, that pain always leads to something better. But Nietzsche would challenge that. He would ask, what if it doesn't? What if pain is just pain? What if there is no hidden meaning? What if the meaning is something you have to create yourself? And this is where responsibility comes in. Because if meaning is not given to you, then it's your job to create it. And that's not easy. It's much easier to believe that life has a plan, that everything will work out. But Nietzsche didn't believe in that kind of thinking. He believed that life is chaotic, unpredictable, and often indifferent. So where does that leave you? It leaves you with a choice. You can either be a passive observer of your life, or you can become the creator of it. And this is where one of Nietzsche's most important ideas appears. Amor Fati, love your fate. Not tolerate it, not accept it reluctantly, but love it, every part of it, the good, the bad, the painful, the unfair, everything. Now, this might sound extreme. Why would anyone love suffering? Why would anyone embrace pain? But that's not what Nietzsche meant. He didn't mean you should enjoy pain. He meant you should stop resisting reality, because resistance creates suffering on top of pain. Pain is inevitable,
but suffering is often created by how we react. Think about it. When something goes wrong, what do most people do? They complain, they resist, they ask, "Why me?" They replay the situation over and over again, and in doing so, they multiply their pain. But what if instead you accepted it, not as something good, but as something real, something that happened, something you cannot change? And then you ask, "What now?" That question is powerful because it shifts your focus from the past to the future, from the problem to the response. And that's where strength is built, not in the event itself, but in what you do after it. Now, let's go deeper into something even more uncomfortable. Nietzsche believed that most people never reach their potential, not because they can't, but because they won't. Because reaching your potential requires something most people avoid: responsibility. Taking full responsibility for your life, not blaming your past, not blaming other people, not blaming circumstances, but looking at your life and saying, "This is mine." Even the parts you didn't choose, even the parts that hurt you, even the parts that feel unfair. And that's difficult because it removes all excuses. It puts the control back in your hands. And with control comes pressure, because now you can't hide. You can't say this is just how things are. You have to act. You have to decide who you want to be. And that brings us to another key idea: the herd mentality. Nietzsche believed that most people live like part of a herd. They follow society's rules. They follow expectations. They do what's considered normal. And in doing so, they avoid risk. They avoid judgment. They avoid standing out. But they also avoid growth. Because growth requires friction. It requires going against the flow. It requires doing things that feel uncomfortable. And most people don't want that. They want safety. They want approval. They want certainty. But those things come at a cost. The cost of individuality. The cost of potential. The cost of becoming who you could be. And this is where Nietzsche introduces the idea of the Übermensch, often misunderstood, often misused, but incredibly powerful. The Übermensch is not a superhero, not someone physically stronger than everyone else. It's someone who creates their own values, someone who doesn't blindly accept what society tells them, someone who thinks for themselves, acts for themselves, lives by their own standards, and most importantly, takes full responsibility for their life. The Übermensch doesn't wait for life to give meaning. They create it. And that's what makes them powerful, because they are not controlled by circumstances. They are shaped by their response to them. Now think about your own life again. How much of it is truly yours? How many of your decisions are actually yours? And how many are influenced by what others expect, what society considers normal, what feels safe? This is not an easy question, because the honest answer is uncomfortable. Most people are not as free as they think. They live within invisible boundaries, rules they never questioned, limits they never tested. And Nietzsche challenges all of that. He asks you to step outside of it, to question everything, to rebuild yourself from the ground up, not based on what you were told to be, but based on what you choose to become. And that process is painful because it requires letting go of old beliefs, old identities, old versions of yourself. But it's also necessary because without it, there is no real growth. Now, let's come back to the original quote: "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger." After everything we've talked about, you can see that it's not that simple. It's not automatic. It's not guaranteed. It's conditional. It depends on you, on how you respond, on whether you choose to grow or give up. Because life will test you again and again, sometimes in small ways, sometimes in ways that completely shake you. And in those moments, you won't feel strong, you won't feel motivated, you won't feel ready. But that's exactly where the decision happens. Not when it's easy, not when everything is going well, but when it's hard, when it's messy, when it's uncertain. That's where you decide, not with words, but with actions, You decide if this will break you or build you. And even then, it's not a one-time decision. It's something you choose over and over again, every day, every time you face something difficult, every time you feel like giving up, every time you question yourself, you choose. And that's what Nietzsche wanted you to understand. Not that suffering makes you stronger, but that strength is something you create through suffering. If you're willing to face it, if you're willing to take responsibility, if you're willing to find meaning where there is none. Because at the end of the day, life doesn't owe you strength. It doesn't guarantee growth. It doesn't promise a happy ending. But it gives you something else. A chance to become stronger, a chance to become more aware, a chance to become who